Hello and welcome to day 2 of learning how to write and publish your book with Anntricia Bray Smith. I am your instructor, Anntricia Bray Smith, and I am producing this product so that you can have more flexibility in creating your book on demand. So I am your instructor, and as you can see on the PowerPoint slide, I am offering this course live June 8th through 12th, 2020 from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. nightly. But I wanted to pre-record this course so that you have the option to purchase this product so that you can work at your own pace on demand. So also as a review, you should have already been through day 1 and the requirements that were there for day 1 and completed your homework assignment. But also I want to, as a reminder, because I did not include it in this slide, is reminder of my contact information so that you can reach out to me with any questions that you may have as you go through the process of writing and publishing your own book. Because you don't have direct access to me, you have to submit your questions through email, and that email is ambraysm@yahoo.com or through my website at www.antriciabraysmith.weebly.com. Use the contact tab and submit your questions that you have for me as you go through this process on demand. So we're gearing up and ready for day 2. And remember that this course is initially set up to go 5 days and an hour a day. And these pre-recorded videos may or may not last an hour because you're not interacting with me live. So therefore, I don't get an opportunity to get your questions daily as we go through this. And therefore, I may not be as long or as lengthy as it would be during the live course. So just because the recordings are not an hour long, don't think that you're being cheated some kind of way. Just know that it's because I'm only giving the information to the questions that pop up in my mind as I go along, as it may or may not relate to you. I'm not actually engaging with you live, so therefore that minimizes some of the time. But you guys are getting the same content as would the people that join me on a live training. And I want to make sure that I give you a valuable product. Also, guys, just as a side note, I am recording this from my home, and we know that with the pandemic that people are working more from home. But I said that to say that there may be some background distractions or noise or things like that as life continues to go on, but I didn't want to neglect to produce a product that would also allow you the flexibility so that if you can't join me for a live class, but that you can still get quality information and quality content in helping you produce a product. So as a review, I always like to go back and review the previous class. Now, I want to know, what is the title of your book? What is the title of your book, guys? So even though we're not live and interacting with one another, this is something that you can still submit to me via email, especially if it's something that you'd want me to look at. Because you purchased this course, you still have some access to me to gain feedback on the things that you're working on. especially if it's something that you have a question with. So even if it's not live, face-to-face interaction, you can still submit these things to me via email to get your questions asked, or just to know that you've gone through the process. Now, is this necessary? No, it's not. It's not necessary, but just know that that is an option for you if maybe you're not so sure, or that you need someone to take a look to be sure that you're on the right track. What genre best relates to your book? And these are things that we already discussed from day one, but as you begin to write your introduction, if you did the homework, then you're more certain, or you're more confident in where your book should be placed as you have gone through day one and the assignments required for you to do. How many pages is your introduction? Some of you may have only had 1.5 pages. Some of you may have had 3 or 4 pages. Some of you may have end up with 10 pages in your introduction. Whatever it is, what is it? Because now you've already started creating your product. And so if you went through the process of answering those questions from day one, and you went through the homework assignment and put something in a manuscript form, you're already in the first steps, initial steps of writing and creating your book. So you can answer these questions. Did you edit your introduction manuscript? Did you go back through and reread your introduction when you wrote it to make sure that your words are spelled correctly, or make sure that you have the correct punctuations? Now, everything is not going to be perfect. Now, we're still going to find mistakes when we go through our manuscript, because this is a product that most of us are producing on our own. And oftentimes we cannot see our own mistakes. My books that I've written, there are many mistakes through the manuscript within my book, but I occasionally pick my books up and I read through the content, and I go back to my manuscript and I make the corrections, so that before I get ready to order more copies, all I do is take that corrected manuscript and upload it to my profile, and the corrections are continuously being made. And so my book gets better and better, and it looks better and better. But as we write, that's something that when we finish that work for today, we want to make it a habit of doing, is going back through, reading our manuscript and making corrections as we find it. And that's not always easy when we're looking over our own work. Okay, because we know in our mind what we've said or what we've written, and so the mind tends to see that as we perceive it within our minds, and not necessarily what's on the manuscript. Did you save your manuscript on a flash drive or a hard drive? Now, one of the things that I make it a habit of doing when I'm working through Word documents and things like that is I have a little flash drive like this that I save information on. And what I do is I insert it into my computer, and as I name it, which for this, it would be the name of my book, like for instance, Time to Talk. So when I insert that in there, and I save my Word document under Time to Talk. So then I go back in when I'm ready to move forward. I'll pull up Time to Talk from this device and continue my manuscript in the place that I left off. So whether you're saving it on a flash drive, whether you're saving it in Google Docs, on a hard drive, or some other software, make sure that you save your work. That way you don't have to start all over again. It will allow you to continue where you left off, okay? And what issues or challenges did you have? Did you find that you ran into some issues or challenges, especially for those that are using voice technology to produce your work? Did you run into some challenges as you were working through your product? So, give me just a second here. As you can see, I was saving my document from the previous, converting it over to my flash drive then. So I was doing 2 in 1. So I want to make sure that I can save it so that you can get this on-demand product. So that's what that was. It converted it for me. And also just making sure that I put it in the correct file so that you can get the on-demand course. Also, issues and challenges that you come up with. Did you have trouble using the voice software, or did you have trouble with your manuscript, typing it into a Word document? Did you have issues with time management where it took up too much of your time, that you were not able to put as much time or effort into your product this far? Okay, so there's all types of issues and challenges that we're up against. Like I said, I'm recording this from home, and there may be some background distractions throughout this video, but I want to commit to producing a quality product for you so that I can help you as best I can in these 5 recordings to help you produce and create an awesome product that will help you generate revenue for years to come. And are you ready to move forward? Now, guys, this is the most critical. If you have not already completed the assignments and the expectations of day 1, please do not move forward. If you're really serious about the product that you are creating, then it is imperative that you do the work. And remember, we're not in any hurry here on this platform because this is offered to you on demand. So if you commit to the process of just doing it as you go along, you can see that it's going to be so much better for you as you move forward to complete your product. So if you haven't already went through the step and the homework from day 1, please stop this video and go back, pick up where you left off, go through the process so that you will not be so overwhelmed with producing a product. Okay, so that is necessary. So we take things in chunks. You don't want to be so overwhelmed that you miss the steps. Now, for those of you that are going through this course and you've already written a book and you're just waiting on the times to where we begin to market and generate more revenue from products that we have, then that's fine. Let's proceed. Let's move forward. But for those that have not yet created a product and you're just going through the videos, let's go back. Let's do the work, because it's important to know that you can go through this process and create a product that we are ready and waiting to see that's going to help us and benefit us. All right, let's move on. What is the purpose of your book? Now we're looking to get into the details and the meat of our product. So if I'm doing a cookbook, what is the purpose behind me creating a cookbook? My purpose could be that I want to make preparing meals a delightful experience for single parents. Less of a task, more of an enjoyment that maybe the entire family can come into the kitchen and produce together. So whatever it is, what is my purpose behind my book? My book, Recreating a Better Me, my purpose was to make my readers aware of the issues and the areas of their life that they have found themselves stuck at age 40 to 65, and giving them the tools and the resources that they need, and providing them with practical techniques, simple changes that they can implement within their lives to make their lives more fulfilled, and that they can find purpose in life and begin to set the path for the rest of their life. Not only their life, but legacy focus. So it thinks long term. So it helps my readers put practical steps and techniques in place that they can begin to impact change within their families, not only in their lives, but in their families. So that was the purpose behind my book, Recreating a Better Me. So this is what I want you to think about. What is the purpose of you writing your book? If you're writing a journal, a 30-day motivational journal, why is it that someone needs that book? What is the purpose behind it? How did it help you? Okay, so what you're going to consider is, what are the 3 most important points you want your reader to know when they read your book? What are the 3 most important points that you want your reader to know when they read your book? Write that on your notes. You should still have your notes in your paper or your recording device, whatever it is that you have. You should still have it right there beside you. Write that down. And if you have to stop this video because maybe I moved too fast and you're still writing, that's okay for you to do. It's on demand. It's you make this tool work for you the best that you need it to work for you. Okay, so if you have to stop and push pause or whatever it is that you have to do so that you can stay on pace and on target, if you have more notes than maybe some of the other, you do as you need to do. What are the 3 most important points you want your reader to know as they read the book? Okay? Also think about, what problems are you solving in your book? What problems are you solving in your book? Well, in my book, Recreating a Better Me, the problem I'm solving in this book is to help people get unstuck in the areas of finances, self-perception, unforgiveness, self-care, being confident in their own skin, how to know that they're living in their purpose. I am solving so many problems within this book that it is just going to be so beneficial when my reader reads that book and go through the work. So I'm solving problems. What problems are you solving in your children's book? What are you teaching those children? What are they going to learn from the character? What problems are going to be solved through reading that book? Okay? What is that journal going to do for the reader? What problems is it solving? Maybe it's resolving issues as it relates to social anxiety and depression. Maybe an way to start their day by uplifting their spirits on a positive note. What problem is your product going to solve? And last but not least, how will your reader be better or feel better as a result of reading your book? And remember, you need to be answering these questions on paper now as we're going through these questions. So remember, if you need to stop or pause the video, please go ahead and do that so that you can stay on task, especially if I'm moving too fast for you to jot down your answers as it relates to your product. So in my book, Recreating a Better Me, when my reader reads this book and do the work, they're going to have a more positive mindset. They're going to be more aware of who they are. They're going to be less distracted by outside stimuli. They're going to be more in tune to their spiritual source. They're going to feel better in their health with the health and wellness resources that I included in the contents of that book. So this gives me an idea with what I produce. How are the readers who read my book going to be better as a person, or how their body going to feel better when they read your cookbook and start implementing some of the recipes from your book? How they're going to feel better? How is it going to make their body feel to have more nutritious meals as a result of your product? Okay, so these are things that you need to think about. And remember, you're the expert. You're the expert. And you need to know this information now, because knowing this information and considering this information now is going to help you put the contents of your book together, but it's also going to help you when we move into the marketing strategy for our book. Now, for those of you authors who are already established and you already have a book, you need to also answer these questions, because when we get to the marketing side of our book, this information is going to help you market your product so that you're able to generate more revenue from the product that you've already created. So don't think that you're just going through this material now and that it's not beneficial for you, because it is. So if you would go through the questions and write down your notes, it's going to help you later as we go through the marketing strategy for our book. Okay? Chapters in the book. Now is the time that we need to start moving and considering what the chapters of our book look like. Now, for those of you that are doing a cookbook, you may use a section on vegetables. You may do a chapter on chicken. You may do a section using fish or fish product. You may do a section on healthy desserts or something of that. I don't know what how you want to select the chapters of your book, but now is the time for us to start thinking about the meat of our product. So what will your chapters be? Okay, and remember, this is your product. So those of you that are doing a children's book, your book may not look like chapters. Your book may just look like one whole story. Excuse me for that. So we want to consider, what does our book look like? So for those of us that are doing nonfiction, or maybe an autobiography or a biography or cookbooks or something like that, we want to start looking at, what does the chapters look like? What is it that we want to talk about while we're producing this product? For those of you that are writing sermons, which sermons are you going to include? Those will be the chapters within your book. So whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4 chapters, or maybe it's 15 sermons that you're adding in there, goes up to 15 chapters. That's up to you, and it's up to you to decide. Okay? How will you determine what order to put the chapters in? So think about the content that you're going to add in this book and begin to write it down. So write chapters on your note. Start with 1. And whatever topics or subjects you're wanting to draw out within the contents of your book, just start writing it down. Just start jotting it down. Okay, so like with Recreating a Better Me, it started out with my introduction, and then it goes to chapter 1 where it's talking about financial education. Then I go into talking about better self-care. Then I'm talking about how to reconstruct our thoughts or our mindset. Then I go into talking about better relationships. I talk about nutrition and healthy livings. What are the contents of your book, and how will you determine in what order you want the contents to go in? So for right now, we're just brainstorming what we want the chapters to look like, and then we can decide after we look at it what order we want to put it in. Okay, so the main thing is to take a look at what we want our chapters to look like, how many chapters we're going to have. Say we got 4 chapters, and guys, remember, this don't have to be a long drug out book. Okay, it doesn't have to be a long drug out book. This is going to be what you produce, how you see it being, and we're just going to go from there. You don't have to do it like everybody else. You're going to do it the way it is for you, what you want it to look like. And you already have that vision in your mind because you're here on day 2. We're going through the process. We can already see a product that we're creating. So it's not about how someone else is doing it. This is you. This is your product. Okay? So you determine now what order you want it to be in. And remember, if I move too fast, please go ahead and stop this video and pause it and pick up where you left off when you're able to go through the questions, okay? And which chapter will your customers or your audience be most interested in, and why? Now, out of those that you've selected, why is the ones that read your book most interested in that chapter, that particular chapter, and why? Now, with me, I feel like depending on where my target audience is, when they read my book, the issues that they deal with personally, I feel like wherever their struggle is the most, wherever areas in their life that they find stuck the most, that's the chapter that they're going to be most interested in. Now, there are people that struggle with finances that do not struggle with forgiving others. So they're going to be most interested in my chapter of financial education. They're going to be less likely to spend more time in forgiveness if they don't have trouble in that area than they would. Most of them get stuck right there in finances, and it takes them a while to process going through financial education. And so whatever that is that it looks like for your target audience, think about it. Why are they going to be most interested in that chapter, and why? Okay, because I know that at 40 years of age, between 40 and 65, which is where I find myself currently, you know, if I have habits of poor spending and not knowing how to invest and stuff, I'm going to have hardest time shifting my mindset in that area. So it's going to take me a little while to work through that process of financial education. But I'm most interested in that because I know that I can create my financial portfolio. Okay, so it's going to take me a while to go through the process. But for a 40 to 65-year-old woman who has struggled from paycheck to paycheck all her life, this is where they're going to be most interested And this is where they're going to be spend most of their time in my book, because it's important to them to adopt better financial habits and finally have a course in financial literacy to where they can make financial decisions for the duration of their life, especially for those that are older, moving into those retirement years. Okay? So think about that. And you're only answering the questions as it applies to your book. So that's necessary. So now we're here to where we've explored all those questions. And guys, think about it now. If you're not ready, stop the video. Stop and come back after you've had an opportunity to explore those questions and jot down your thoughts as it relates to each chapter in your book and what you want the chapters to look like and in what order you want it to look like. And then come back to this slide for your homework assignment. This is on demand. You're not in any hurry. You're not on anybody's time frame. It's only important that you go through the work and commit to the process so that you can get to this point and allow me to assist you step by step in creating a product that you can be proud of and that can generate income from for years to come. Okay, so your homework assignment for day 2 is to write and complete chapter 1 of your book. You should be able to generate at least 5 to 10 pages for chapter 1. So whatever you have selected for chapter 1, now is the time to be thinking about what problems you're solving for your reader in chapter 1 and what that looks like. So this also means that you can talk about it for 15 minutes. So for those of you that are doing it audio and having your voice recorded and transcribed for you, whether on Google Documents, Dragon, or Otter, whatever software you're using, you should be able to talk about it at least 15 minutes. And if you can talk about it for 15 minutes, it's going to generate 5 or 10 pages of content for you to produce your chapter 1. Okay? So it can be longer, it can be shorter, but I want you to try at least to generate 5 pages for your chapter 1. Now, for those of you that are doing children's books or journals or 30-day meditations or whatever it is, yours is not going to look like this. But also it's necessary that you look at producing at least 5 pages of content for day 2. Okay, so use the techniques that you learned from day 1 if necessary. Go and create a free account with Otter and record yourself or upload your audio that you've already have from your blogs or from your journals or from your podcast. Go ahead and upload that and allow those software devices to begin to transcribe your audio for you. Also, don't forget about Google Docs. When you go into Google Docs, you want to select Tools and Voice and then begin recording. And remember, if you can talk about your subject or your topic in chapter 1 for a minimum of 15 minutes, you're going to have you're going to produce a good 5 to 10 pages automatically just from being there and being able to talk about it for a minimum of at least 15 minutes. Remember, you're the expert. You decide what goes into your product, and also as a reminder, if you're using content from research or from someone else's platform, be sure to give them recognition in your manuscript so that you're not guilty of plagiarizing. And if you're not sure what I mean by that, by giving recognition of the content that you use from other sources, please go back to day one and review that so that you're not plagiarizing and that you're giving credit for content where credit is due, whether that is using a Bible verse for your content. You want to make sure that you add whatever scripture and Bible verse that is within the context as you're writing it, or whether you're using words from motivational speakers like Les Brown, or in my case, like Dr. Miles Monroe and things like that. You always want to give credit where credit is due, even though you're using it in the context of your materials, okay? When you use voice to transcribe your documents, please make sure that you also edit, review, and save. Now, you're going through this process, so you want to make sure that as you go along, when you upload your audio or you're speaking into the microphone and it's transcribing the document for you, make sure that you also edit, review, and save your product as you go along. I do hope that day 2 has been beneficial for you. Please go through, do the homework assignments, and do all you can. And if you find that you've been stuck in such an area or you're having a hard time moving forward, remember that this class is on demand. You do not have direct face-to-face live interaction with me, but you can always submit your questions to ambraysm@yahoo.com, or you can visit my website at www.anntriciabraysmith.weebly.com. Use the contact tab to submit your questions if you're stuck in an area. But I do believe that this content is simple enough. I do believe that it's spoken in simple terms to help you move forward. Just commit to the process, commit to doing the work, dedicate at least an hour out of your day to sit and do the homework assignments, to sit and go through these videos. Ask yourself the questions so that you're not so overwhelmed with trying to do everything all at once. Okay, guys, I appreciate you taking out the time to be with me, and I appreciate you going through this video with me. I do hope to see you again here for day 3 of learning how to write and publish your book with Anntricia Bray Smith. I'll see you in the next video.